United States whistleblower David Grusch, who in July testified before Congress about the United States government secretly reverse engineering UFOs. We have a secret crash retrieval program to confiscate UFOs. We have dead alien bodies, non-human intelligence as they're being called. And he testified to all this. And so he's done very few interviews, okay? And this new interview just came out with him, and we're going to be taking a look at that. So, and the people behind it, a little bit of, backstory, context, if you will. So what am I talking about, Patrick? This is Patrick with Vetted. Thank you for joining. Let's jump in. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Leave a comment down below of what you think about this new David Grusch interview. And if you like more content like this, hit the subscribe button. We release a new video every day at 12 p.m. Central. Let's jump in. So David Grusch, again, the UFO whistleblower, went on the ICER network and did an interview, 20-minute interview that we're going to be taking a look at, and I'll be adding my commentary, of course. So what is the ICER network? Let's take a look at that first before we jump into this interview. First of all, let me show you right here. You're going to see two guys that do the interview with him. Paolo Guisardi and Roberto Pinotti. All right. So the ICER network, right, which is who put on this interview, is the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research. All right. And if you look down here, their official bodies, the executive board, Roberto Pinotti, okay, is the president, and Paolo Guisardi, also the president, but of the Fiscal Council. So they are the ones that put this together. So basically, look, here it is, a collaboration. ICER bases its very essence on a collaborative effort by many researchers located in different places on Earth. All right, so it's a non-for-profit research organization. Started in Portugal, 27th of May, 2021. And bringing people from all over the world to share information that are studying UFOs, right? I had never heard of it. So it's interesting that David Grusch went on this interview, right, on this place. So again, you can find out more information about these people, who they are, writers, journalists, right? Here's Paolo Guisardi. And again, I'll be putting links to all of this. This is his website. So you can check out all this stuff and learn more about the people that put on this interview with David Grusch. All right, let's jump into this interview with David Grusch. Let's get it going. And it said Kuhn was putting this on, C-U-N. That's just the Center for Ufology Research. It's the National Ufology Center. That's what Kuhn stands for in Italian, right? They're Italian words. So Centro Ufologico, no sé cómo se dice. I don't know how to say it in Italian. Nazionale, something like that. So that's who put it on. ICER and Kuhn, C-U-N. Sounds like I'm saying Kuhn, like Kun? I don't know. Anyway, here we go.
So Dave, nowadays you are very famous in the whole UFO community. But let's go back a bit and please tell us the basic reasons that made you decide to come forward in the open with your explosive declarations.
Yeah, well, the journey of going public was a very long one. It was a journey that I didn't think that was going to end the way it did with me leaving my career. I reported that information to the Inspector General back in 2022 because I saw the UAP task force was not being afforded access to these programs that I uncovered through witness interview, document review, etc. and based on reprisals I was facing, it was most prudent for me to, for my own protection, submit a whistleblower complaint with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. That ran its course. I provided the Intelligence Committee's information in late 2022, but I saw the writing on the wall where I wasn't going to be able to affect change and kind of pressure the investigation that would have been necessary to break open these programs for further study within the government. So I took it upon myself. I looked around and I was the only one out of my small contingent of colleagues that had kind of the right opportunity to go public. And I decided that that made the most sense so I could use the levers of public pressure to hold the legislative branch and the executive branch accountable in the U.S. I saw internally there was no way that this issue was going to be self-policed within the U.S. government. So I needed to go up on the outside to hold them accountable.
What do y'all think of bearded Grusch? I like the look, the beard. It looks good on him. He should rock that. It's like, it just looks like stereotypical, like, he's just been holed up in his house, like conspiracy theorist, like aliens, UFOs, growing this big beard. Of course, that's not it. Actually, the beard does look good on him. But yeah, all right, let's continue. Sorry, that was a weird interruption.
Good. And specifically, I would like to know, did you experience any kind of problems for what you have publicly declared?
So real quick, I do want to know what y'all think in the comments about him doing an interview on a channel like this with folks like this. I mean, I guess in some instance, because that was my first like, whoa, why this, But it is a global phenomenon. So it kind of would make sense that he would go do other media, right, in the world globally, right? And Italy does have a history, right, with UFOs. So, but why this? Just curious what y'all think. Am I missing something? Is there a reason to do this over others? And real quick, the question he just asked him was, did he get any sort of pushback, right? Any problems for coming out?
There were some high-level officials in some former agencies I worked for that were very unhappy to see my face on television, and some of the pushback I got after I went public is I have told Congress that behind closed doors, and the Department of Defense Inspector General are looking at some of the reprisal aspects after I went public as well, because there's some things that Congress may disclose in the future about certain elements of the U.S. government that were unhappy with me going public.
So could you tell us, Dave, as far as you are told and as far as you can, of course, how many UFO or UAP crafts are in possession of the U.S. government?
I was presented those specific numbers in a classified environment, and I did provide those metrics to authorities. Like I said on News Nation, it is quite a number. I'll just say it's double digits. The exact numbers I did not clear through pre-publication and security review. And furthermore, some of the more specifics, as I've said in a recent interview on a YouTube channel called Yes Theory, it really should be the U.S. president and other officials that provide the more detailed disclosure, because I don't have all the data. I don't know what some of the ramifications are with certain things. And you have to remember, giving out specific metrics or numbers, foreign intelligence services, Russia, China, etc. They're watching this video right now, and they want to see, did they get their numbers right? And I'm not here to provide, foreign intelligence services additional data. So I have to be very careful about specifics. It's not because I don't want to be transparent, but I do know foreign intelligence services are, watching these kind of videos.
So, Dave, could you tell us something about the involvement of private U.S. corporations into the reverse engineering program or programs?
Yeah, there's certainly been private corporations involved, both federally funded research and development centers and for-profit companies that have contracted with the U.S. government over the years. Like I've mentioned in other interviews, the U.S. government overlaid the Manhattan Project secrecy, personnel, generally what elements were involved corporately and governmentally in that too. Atomic Energy Commission, which morphed into Department of Energy, Nuclear Regulatory Commission later, and that is why you see in the what we call the Schumer Amendment in the United States that hopefully will be signed here very shortly, and maybe it'll be signed by the time the conference happens, where they cite the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 and other provisions within the unclassified Schumer Amendment. That's because they understand that the secrecy justification ran along the lines of U.S. nuclear secrets, and that's a whole other discussion for now. And I'll mention that you'll notice in the Schumer Amendment they talk about transclassified foreign nuclear information (TFNI) in the Schumer Amendment, and that is not by accident, because you can imagine what that means is, say the U.S. through intelligence operations stole a foreign nuclear secret. Well, the U.S. liked that foreign nuclear secret and wanted to make it their own, so they transclassified it into a U.S. protected nuclear capability. And that's what the Schumer Amendment is trying to espouse, if you read in between the lines, that they've justified it through these nuclear secrecy provisions. But yes, certainly private companies were involved. The specific ones I did provide to the congressional committees and the Inspector General, down to specific facilities I am aware of, down to the address, right, where they exist. And also I had the individuals that firsthand worked on the program provide that disclosure and interview with the Inspector General as well. So it wasn't just coming from me.
So, Dave, are you aware, or can you
Wow, right? Like, so the firsthand witnesses have actually testified to the Inspector General, like in person, right? That's what I got from that. Not just that David Grusch had put together an investigation and then handed over that investigation to the Inspector General, and they were like, yeah, this looks good, right? They actually sat down and had their own interview with this firsthand witness. And again, they called this investigation urgent and credible. So that's very interesting. I mean, he's got the addresses, y'all, for where these UFOs are. Like, imagine that knowledge. Like, how do you even sleep at night? You know what I mean? How do you even sleep at night knowing that you know exactly where these craft are, right? Non-human, right? The biggest, discovery of humanity, right? I mean, it's just insane, right? To then have that knowledge and know where this is, where these craft are located. Oosh, I don't know. I don't know if I could, maybe that's part of the reason, right? We can't be told. Like, if I truly knew, again, we can think and believe that, we've had visitations, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's happened. Another thing is to 100% certain know, right? And I just don't even know how you sleep at night. For people that have had like true experiences and like, some crazy stuff happen, I don't even know how those people sleep at night. I'll be honest. How do you? Knowing that your entire view of reality has changed. You just can't look at the sky the same way. You just can't look at another human being the same way, knowing there's more. And they're here. And they've come. And holy shit. Like, maybe there is something to be said about us not knowing. Sorry, I just went on a little tangent here. Let's continue.
confirm the fact that murders have been committed for the purpose of maintaining secrecy on everything concerns the UFO UAP subject?
I don't have any personal knowledge, but of the 40 people we did interview, I'd say about 10 to 12 of them had concerns about wet work, murders in the past, people going missing in their workplace. I certainly had, some disturbing things happen to me in my personal life from a physical intimidation perspective, which I reported to my agency's counterintelligence element when I was still in government. Obviously, I was never physically harmed, but I certainly saw signatures of what I thought was illicit extragovernmental activity as it related to intimidating me and some of my other colleagues. Just was very, very disturbing and upsetting information. So I don't have any personal knowledge of that kind of stuff, but I did talk to firsthand witnesses who had very high credentials, that were government officials, that did espouse that concern of illicit wet work and other physical intimidation type activities. So I don't believe that they were lying. So I feel like that is a genuine concern, and I would, champion an investigation to see if that is true.
So again, I'm a little confused there because I feel like in the hearing he testified saying that for certain has happened, right? That people have been killed to cover this up. And now it seems like he's kind of saying that there's concerns that it could have happened or that it might have happened. People have gone missing. This has happened. People have died under mysterious circumstances, whatever it may be, right? Is that for certain, or people have a concern about it? I know I'm being picky here, semantics, but these details sort of matter. I mean, that's just quite an allegation to make, that our government is murdering people to cover this up, right? Like that's just a huge allegation. So I don't know. Maybe I'm confused there. Help me in the comments. Am I misunderstanding that wrong?
As you know, in 1971, when I was a lieutenant of the Italian army, serving in an elite NATO unit with atomic missiles in northern Italy, I was asked by two United States Army officers if I was aware that the United States had recovered crashed UFOs and the bodies of their pilots as well. So, in any case, you can confirm that the same kind of declarations that you publicly provided have been provided in classified environment by other military or intelligence officers?
Yes, those same facts were confirmed to me by people with firsthand knowledge that worked on those programs, that there have been crashes and we've retrieved craft and biological material, bodies, if you will, like I've stated previously publicly, yeah.
Can you provide at least an estimate of how many whistleblowers have come forward?
Yeah, so I believe there was a news article lately that discussed, I think it was like 28 or 30 came forward to the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW. And I, of course, am not involved in that part, but that's the numbers that I saw in a news article lately. But in terms of how many have come to the Intelligence Community Inspector General, I'd say about a dozen or so. Some of the whistleblowers I don't personally know, so I don't know who in addition, they may have brought forward as well, either to back up their claims or to file independent complaints. But it's certainly not just me. I just was the one that took it for the team and went public. But there's certainly, at least a dozen or so of people behind the scenes like me, but also those that actually worked on the program firsthand, that, touched the craft, if you will.
So you can indirectly confirm at least part of what the late Colonel Philip Corso wrote in his The Day.
I mean, these people that come out, right, these firsthand whistleblowers, they are just, right, there is just going to be no putting that back in the bottle. You're not going to be able to put that toothpaste back in the tube. That is going to be nuts. They are going to be, spotlight on them, ridiculed. Everything about them is going to be put under a microscope. I don't envy them, to be honest with you. I mean, you sort of envy the knowledge they have, and being able to see that has got to be mind-blowing. But maybe, the weight of that burden as well. So, yeah, when people talk about David Grusch's bravery, it is brave to come out and blow the whistle like this. And put your whole career, out there and everything out there and make these claims. I mean, he has to know that, he seems like a reasonable person, right? He has to know that these are quite outlandish claims. So he just, in my opinion, just coming forward without any substantial evidence seems reckless, and he just doesn't seem like a reckless person.
After Roswell book concerning the reverse engineering operations being operated by private corporations with materials provided by the military?
Yes, at least at the very least. I mean, I can't verify his whole story. Of course, I think he died in 1998. I think I was 11 or 12 years old then, but certainly the U.S. government, if they had custodianship, they would give some pieces and parts to different private contractors for reverse engineering. At least that general story is true. The other aspects of the story, and if he was specifically involved, I'm not certain. Like I was, obviously never able to interview him or investigate this stuff in the scope of my duties, but generally that statement is true.
What about the biological aspect? How many bodies were recovered as far as you were told? Only dead bodies were recovered, or also living biological entities?
Certainly the numbers are up there, just the same as crash retrievals. We'll leave it as double digit. And the biological.
Wow. Double digit bodies, y'all. Over 10. Somewhere near the crash number. I mean, wow.
Projects came in a variety of states and morphologies and all that stuff. But that's the stuff I can't quite get into publicly. But I encourage the president and others to kind of explain the types of biological recoveries we've had. I encourage the executive branch in our country to inform the world on that.
What? Let's hear that again. Expect the president.
Retrievals, we'll leave it as double digit. And the biologics came in a variety of states and morphologies and all that stuff. But that's the stuff I can't quite get into publicly. But I encourage the president and others to kind of explain the types of biological recoveries we've had.
Wow. So, dude, that's just an interesting, very telling answer, in my opinion. Like, he really believes disclosure is coming, right? And he expects the president of the United States to come out, give a press conference, and say, these are the different species that we have. These are the different crap. This is nuts.
I encourage the executive branch in our country to inform the world on that.
Is the presidential race going to get in the way of this, right? Supposedly 2024, next year, is a huge year for disclosure. But we also have the presidential race, and we all know what kind of circus, America turns into for that. And you've got Trump and Biden, and, it's insane right now, right? We got the war in Israel right now. We've got Ukraine. I mean, there's just a lot happening, This is interesting.
Since decades, we keep on hearing stories of secret United States government ET contacts and pacts and even treaties struck with the ETs. In 2020, the prominent Israeli scientist Haim Eshed also openly confirmed this scenario. Are you by any chance aware of this? And if possible, of course, can you tell us something on this subject?
Yeah.
So this guy from the Israeli government, remember his name exactly, but he covered, he basically said that, you know, humans had an agreement with the Galactic Federation, okay? And that we had agreements with different alien species, right? For peace and whatever, right? Whatever sort of agreements we had. So it went beyond just we got crashed craft and we got some dead alien bodies, and, you know, it went beyond that. It went to, we've got agreements, right? Galactic Federation was the word used. That's what has always stuck out to me about that guy. This guy who ran like Israeli, like military, you know, like he was like up there, right? So well respected within his own government, and then comes out and says this, right? I believe he's out of office, right? Older, but still, Galactic Federation. So anyway.
Interview anybody that espoused firsthand knowledge about any kind of active communication or interaction with non-human intelligence. Many believe that there was certainly probably an aspect of the program that dealt with that. However, I was not able to interview anybody that had firsthand knowledge. So anything I would say would be rumor and speculation. But I think that is an extremely fair question to ask. And that's a question I would like an answer to as well, because I was never able to interview anybody that had that firsthand knowledge, definitely to make me confident to say anything with any authority.
Coming now to the subject that has raised quite a bit of interest here in Italy, that is the so-called Mussolini UFO case. Confirmed before, you mentioned it also by Luis Elizondo. Could you please elaborate on the way you got to know the event, its characteristics, and so on?
Yes, some of my interview subjects that I ultimately directed to the Inspector General, they did give me a briefing on all the U.S. involved recoveries that happened over the years, and the Mussolini case that, interestingly enough, is already out there in public vernacular thanks to your work. Uncovering that case, and the 1933 Magenta area crash was one of the events that they talked about, and that was one that I submitted in my DoD and pre-publication review to be able to talk about publicly, because I thought that was a very remarkable international case that would hopefully spurn not just U.S. interest but European interest. And so what's interesting about that crash, and it's some stuff I haven't stated publicly, but I did submit it for security review. But so when it came down, when they went to recover it, it had a acorn or bell shaped. But what really happened there is they believe that the original craft was lenticular or saucer, because when it crashed, when they came to recover it, all the edges were broken off around the craft. And so it looked like a bell or an acorn, but really it had additional characteristics that were destroyed when it landed. But Pope Pius XII was involved, and he sent a communique through the OSS, the American OSS, and it ended up going to FDR's desk. But as far as I know, unless the records were destroyed, the Vatican and the Pope Pius XII section of the Vatican Secret Archives, there should be documented evidence. From what I was told, now these...
So that's interesting. So the Pope, Pius XII, sends a private communication to Roosevelt, ends up on his desk. Wow. Right, about this crash. 1933, I believe, right? Magenta, Italy. That's interesting about the crash. So part of it was destroyed upon crashing, which does, things happen, right? When it crashes, just that anything would survive a crash, right? Think about a plane crashing. I mean, it's in pieces. It's never landing whole, it's crashed. So I don't think it really matters like how far advanced it is that it wouldn't be destroyed. I know that's always brought up, right? Like they fly this far to just crash. But nothing's perfect. So there could even be errors on the most advanced things, right? Like let's say time travel gets invented, there will be an error. Somebody will make an error. You know, it's just, no matter what it is, no matter how far you're exploring space. I mean, look at every space movie. There's always some error that happens, right? And they're stranded or this or that or malfunction or AI goes nuts or a robot or like just error, just because things aren't perfect. Things happen. Now, granted, I get those are movies. They're story tropes, but they're just true, just in general. No matter how far advanced you get, any species, there's just going to be errors. Things can happen. Mistakes can happen, right? So the idea that they would crash and part of it be destroyed, because I can already see people making comments about that. It is plausible. I used to sort of think that way too. Like, you know, why do they have lights? How can they crash? You know, but if you think about it long enough, there are reasonable explanations for it all. You know, not saying it's true. I'm just saying that if it, you know, were true, that yeah, that seems plausible. There are plausible, you know, explanations for that. So anyway.
Intel officers that briefed me on this that had firsthand knowledge, they assumed that the Vatican still had those records and they weren't destroyed. And they postulated if they did, you know, what specific Pope's records it would have been in because of the time and Pius XII's involvement back then. And of course, that was, you know, ultimately recovered at the end of the war and you know, went under U.S.
It's just why does the Pope reach out to FDR, right? Is there another government that the Pope would feel more comfortable reaching out to? That just seems interesting, right? I don't know. I mean, America, you know, is an all-powerful country in 1933. Are we the country everyone's looking to for answers and for help? And was there maybe another reason? They had already had conversations about this before, the Pope and FDR, right? Was there another crash before this? And that's how he knew to call FDR, right? Maybe Magenta isn't the first one right there in Italy, you know? Maybe there was previous connection between FDR and the Pope, and that's why he made that phone call to him or sent a message, right? Private. Why FDR, right? And why wouldn't the Pope just have like Vatican resources handle it, right? They're known for securing lots of history secrets, and it doesn't seem like they needed much outside help for it, right? So why wouldn't they just handle it themselves? You know? Interesting. There's got to be a reason.
Possession after the war.
Just a curiosity. You have been in the United States Air Force, so this can be your opinion. Since the object crashed in Italy was, after all, rather big, do you think that it could have been taken to the United States in an airplane or via a ship?
I don't recall that they mentioned to me how they brought it back, but if I were to speculate, you know, based on knowledge, I mean, of B-29, B-17, C-47 aircraft back then, based on the dimensions that they described to me, it's, you know, it was fairly large, you know, 10 plus meters. So I think it would have had to been a ship, most likely. It sounded too big for any U.S. transport plane that I'm aware of from World War II. That would be my pure speculation, but I don't actually know how they did it. So
Dave, can you confirm whether or not bodies were recovered from the 1933 Magenta UFO crash?
I did ask that question to my briefers, and the answer was no. They don't recall any kind of biological material coming with it. It was just an artifact that they recovered. So I'm not aware of any bodies, and they were not aware of any either.
David, finally, are you aware of the existence of other original documents, be they of Italian, American, or German origin, connected to the Italian 1933 UFO crash?
I would surmise that there's probably records in the FDR classified presidential records in America, but that was research I was never able to conduct myself. So besides that, I'm not aware of any other documentation besides, internal U.S. legacy crash retrieval, documents and other stuff that some of my interview subjects had personal access to in their U.S. government duties. Now, there were other foreign events that they actually provided the intelligence reports to me, and I personally read the reports myself and laid eyes on those documents. But those are different events, not in Western Europe.
So Dave, this is going to be the final question of this interview. Could you elaborate on the international dimension of this UFO retrieval and reverse engineering programs, which happened in other countries, of course, as far as you can tell?
Yeah, this is an extension of what I mentioned in my initial News Nation interview about that Cold War, that arms race that has been happening behind the scenes, below the noise floor, where certainly our adversaries have their own programs and have, we've been competing with them, to gather all this stuff. And then B, try to make those, engineering breakthroughs that provide, weapons development advancements for, war purposes. Very little of this technology has matriculated into, civil society and all that. So our adversaries certainly have their own programs, and even China, for example, announced that they have their own UAP task force. There was a June 2021 South China Morning Post article where China discusses they're using artificial intelligence and machine learning to evaluate UAP cases. Now, Russia hasn't made a public statement in that regard that I can think of. I mean, they certainly have made some statements in the 1990s, and you are sure very familiar with, but as of late, I think China was the only one to make an official acknowledgement, at least that they have a task force, not necessarily anything else, but certainly with our adversaries, we've been engaged in these activities for a long time.
Okay, gentlemen. So we have finished the interview.
Thank you very much.
So it looks like there's quite a bit edited out of that interview. It'd be interesting to hear the entire interview uncut. I don't know if there'd be more there, but that would be interesting. So I don't know. What did you guys think of the interview? Nothing too crazy, but again, I'm just curious what y'all think about him doing an interview on this platform. Now, again, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, why? Right? So I don't know. What are some, favorite points from the interview, stuff you thought was different, stuck out, maybe something different he said, the number of bodies. I'm trying to think right now. I can't, that was interesting. I know some more stuff. Anyway, whatever. It's a great interview. Let's see what continues to happen with David Grusch, right? He's still in the news, a lot going on with that guy. So, there's a SCIF meeting this week. Supposedly, potentially, he's going to be in D.C., and maybe he'll be near this meeting or something like that, right? That's what's floating around. So who knows? Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this interview and my commentary along with it. If you can, hit that like button for me. Leave a comment down below. And as always, if you like content like this, hit the subscribe button. Okay, what are you waiting for? We release a new video every day at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, USA. So look, we got a website coming out soon and a Patreon membership that we're going to be launching to offer all kinds of additional content and wait till you see it. It's going to be great. A lot of cool stuff happening. So very excited to share it. We're going to be expanding on content and a lot of different stuff that's happening. So with Vetted. So thank you guys for coming along for the ride. Again, we'll see you on another video. As always, every day's a gift. I'm Patrick with Vetted. Peace, y'all.